It has been a few weeks since I have been in this chair, but I've got a ton of updates for you today. On this episode, we talk about a recent trip to Boston and what you're going to see maybe on the candidate side, on the traveler side, and what it's going to look like here in the near future from us. We're also going to talk about some industry news and some maybe some common misconceptions about maybe what's truly happening in the industry right now. Atlas All Access starts now. All right, first things first. Myself, Aaron Daly, and Kyle Newsome. Those two names may not sound familiar to you. Aaron Daly runs everything on the back end for us from a database perspective, and then Kyle Newsome is somewhat newer to us. He runs everything on the new candidate side. So whenever a new candidate comes to us, however they come to us, it runs through Kyle. And you would know Kyle. He's about 6'5", and his beard goes down to about here. So he's a beer nerd like the rest of us, and we found him. He was doing digital marketing someplace else, and he fits right in with us. So the three of us went to Boston just recently for a conference called Bullhorn Engage. Now, you may or may not have heard your recruiter or myself or Steve or Joel or whoever talking about Bullhorn. What is Bullhorn? It is a candidate record system. So either ATS, a CRM, whatever you want to call it. It's where everything lives when it comes to your experience here at Atlas. So from the moment that you step foot in the virtual door, through the candidate building process, when you're putting your packet together with your recruiter, to the interview phase, or to the submittal phase, to the interview phase, to the acceptance phase, to when you actually start on your first day, and you submit your time card after that first week. And then you go in and you can you go to ADP to check your pay stub. But all the way through that process, how we figure your pay, the actual rate sheet lives within Bullhorn. So all of this lives within this one system called Bullhorn. And they're a very large international company, much like you probably heard of Salesforce before. Very, very similar. They do very, very similar things. And then there are pieces that bolt on to Bullhorn in a way. So bolt-on is a very, I guess, automotive way of explaining it. But maybe if you get a notification that your ACLS is expiring, that's through a product called Bullhorn Automation, and that comes through the system to you. So there's an automated message that either goes to your recruiter. Sometimes your recruiter doesn't even see it. It just goes directly to you, and that's how you know, okay, I need to update my ACLS. You probably know, quite honestly, but there are little pieces like that along the way. If you've had a half birthday and we've sent you a text that says, happy half birthday, click here for your gift, that comes through Bullhorn as well. That's through a different product called Sense. There are many, many companies out there that use Sense. It isn't exclusive to Bullhorn whatsoever. If you get text message prompts for anything, there's a good chance that the product behind that is called Sense. That's how they're getting that information to you. They're using it through their CRM or their ATS to get that to you. So what did I learn at Bullhorn this year? This is the first time in 3 years that they've had it. And I think the biggest takeaway for me was their focus on automation and reporting. Now, I will get to the automation piece here at the end, especially when we get to my opinion. But as the world changes and we become more right here first, no matter what, right? It's mobile first, and how you interact with us, automation is going to become more and more important. There are pieces of the recruiter job that can be automated. There are pieces of what we need from you that can be automated. And you think, well, every one of your journeys is different. And you're not wrong, but there are enough common threads where we can automate those pieces. And if a recruiter needs to touch it, the recruiter can touch it and get in there and do what they need to do, or compliance, for example, or accounting, or payroll. Those are all things that we can do, but would speed up the process in order to get you that contract, or to the contract, or paid, or whatever the case may be, or we get paid, right, from the hospital afterwards. There are any number of things that could speed up that process, and that was a big part of what they talked about this year. The other part of it was reporting, understanding really who the bulk of where our travelers are, what they're doing, what they like, what they dislike. You may have seen some of these automations come through already where you're getting asked after a contract, what'd you like about it? What's a cool place that you've eaten at? What would you tell the next traveler? And you're going to see that more and more as we build that database and we make it even more rich. So when you go to your next contract, wherever that might be, we'll have a data set for you and just say, hey, we know you like sushi. There's great sushi places 4 blocks from the hospital. You should go check that out. Or we know you like baseball, and here's a list of, here's a schedule for the next 6 weeks of games in your area, be it Major League Baseball, Minor League Baseball, Independent League, whatever that might be. We would have that information and be able to send it to you. The final piece of that process was I spoke on a panel with Health Trust and with CHG. So, and Health Trust is one of our MSP partners, arguably one of our most important MSP partners, and CHG is a company that they specifically were talking about locums there. So I represented healthcare staffing from the travel nursing end, and it was a really good information share, understanding what each of their struggles are from an MSP standpoint and from a locum standpoint, and how different we are, but then how we're all kind of the same. And in the end, our struggles are their struggles, and your struggles are our struggles, and we're not all that too far off. So it brought us all closer together. I think I'm closer now, maybe with our MSP partner, Health Trust, than maybe I'd ever been before. Steve Seitner, of course, is very, very close to them. He owns that relationship, but it has been very, very important to us for a number of years. And to be able to sit next to Jody up there and talk through some of this stuff in front of an audience of we probably had 200 people in the crowd was great. So. In the end, we're going to take more people to this next year. It's only going to get bigger for us. We made the right choice a couple of years ago moving to this. Their ideals align with our ideals, and it starts with the candidate experience. We're their candidate, quite honestly, and you are our candidate. And the more that we can align with them, the closer we get to you, and the better your experience is going to be going forward with us from the time you step through the door to the time you say, thank you for your time, and you move on to either another company or you move on to that perm job or what it is. You know that you got the best possible experience because we got the best possible experience using a company like Bullhorn. That brings me to industry news. There have been, and I've read this online recently, there's some misconceptions happening right now just because of where pay rates and bill rates are. There have been some discussions online that probably haven't been the most accurate. How's that? But imagine that. They're inaccurate posts or discussions on Facebook. Imagine that never happens, right? Everything on the internet is true. A couple things to keep in mind. One, there's a misconception that emergency relief funds that the federal government is paying hospitals has stopped. That isn't necessarily the case. They haven't stopped, nor have hospitals run out of that money. Those are still happening to a certain extent, and that is the catalyst for the argument that bill rates are going down. There's a number of pressures right now on hospitals outside of something like that to force bill rates down. They were at unsustainable levels for a while. They are becoming more sustainable now. But just coming out and saying that it's because emergency relief funds have either been used up or are gone is not 100%. It's not entirely accurate. Be careful where you get your information from. Second, we have actually seen bill rates increase over the last couple of weeks. Our internal tracking shows us that bill rates have gone up slightly, but not a ton, but enough that we're starting to see the red down arrow turn into a red or to a green up arrow a little bit. We track that really, really close. Like I said, it's not enough to really move the needle too much, but It's no longer still just on a downward trend. So keep that in mind. Third, May and June have historically been slower, lower bill rate months for hospitals and agencies. Think back through your travel career. If you've been doing this for a while, and you take a contract, you take a new contract, May, June, July, somewhere in there, rates, it's been harder to get a job, and rates have been historically lower. This is just how the cycle works. It has always been like this. Now, I say that with a caveat. Over the past 2 years, and then for a chunk of time after 2008, 2009, that cycle was thrown completely off. We are back to that cycle now. We are seeing that right now. And I can go back and look at charts from 17, 18, 19 that look exactly like the chart from right now. It's exactly how you think it's going to look. Now, jobs will continue to go up as the summer goes on. August should generally be a higher bill rate, a more plentiful for jobs, but that remains to be seen. Do we stay on that current trajectory? All the reports say, yeah, that's how it's going to look. Keep an eye on it though, and I of course will be right here to tell you, yeah, that's what it's looking like, or no, you know what, it's not looking like that. So I will keep you informed, but keep that in mind. Historically, it's been like this time of year. We're seeing a slight increase, and not all the information on the internet is good information, which brings me to just my opinion. Now, this is just my opinion. This is always my favorite part, where I could just kind of tell you what I think and what I believe, because I would tell you this in person, quite honestly. Automation is a huge piece of what we do every day and how our jobs here have changed, and how you as a contractor, as a traveling healthcare professional, view us. It was a very manual phone operated job for a while. Not even this kind of phone, right? The actual desk phone. And then it moved to this. And then it moved to text, and then it moved to, there was emails involved and that type of thing. And then companies out there went 100% digital, and they got a lot of money from a lot of private equity firms. And there's a couple of them out there right now that you probably see jobs from that pay $200, $300, $400 more than someone like us could pay, because they don't have a recruiter. They're not paying that extra bit for that internal staff. It's all running through technology and automation. And I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to say it over and over and over again, because I believe in the agency and recruiter model. Your contract, what you do on an everyday basis, and your professional license is not the same as ordering diapers on Amazon. You can do that, and right now you can do both of those things at the same time on your phone. It's not the same. Do you know what that chatbot is not going to understand at 2:00 in the morning when you got stuck with an HIV positive needle? The chatbot's not going to understand what happened. All right. Your recruiter, who you call on the phone, is going to understand, is going to be able to give you the information that you need in order to make sure that 1, you're safe, 2, you're protected, and 3, you have a good experience coming out of that event. Chatbot's not going to understand that. Your advocate, who is effectively a recruiter, is working with far too many people that are doing the exact same thing as you are. I'm not going to have the time, quite honestly, to do that. I've heard horror stories about that too. The person that was supposed to be that person for you disappeared after you took that contract and pushed you back to the phone, pushed you back to the automation. It's not going to happen here. We are always going to have that recruiter on the other end that can talk to you through anything that happens, good, bad, otherwise, on that contract. Now, we are going to push more automation. We're going to push more to make it easier for you to get there, turn in your time, fill out reports, whatever you need to do for us. We will do that on our end. But that link between you and your recruiter will always be there. Guaranteed. I won't be here if that link isn't here anymore. I wouldn't do this anymore. I believe so strongly in the personal relationship that the recruiter has with their traveling healthcare professionals on contract right now, that I'd find something else to do, quite honestly, if we were 100% digital. So there's a little bit of a soapbox, but that is just my opinion. Over the next couple of weeks, you're going to see more updates from us. You're going to see even more from our recruiters too. So every couple of weeks, you'll come back here with me, sit down at this table. We're going to talk about things like this. Otherwise, watch for our other content that is produced every single day. Some of it's fun, some of it's silly, some of it is very informative and really helps you get to know your recruiter in that way that you wouldn't have known otherwise. So we'll see you next week.